Road to 2112. Maybe there's something you've been looking for, and you can't even say what it is. You only know you haven't found it yet. Tonight, these are stories about people who kept searching anyway, and slowly learned that to keep looking is already a kind of finding. What you're searching for may be closer than it seems. Close your eyes and just listen. Story 1. Looking for something. This story was inspired by reporting on NASA's Next Generation AI, which analyzed test data to identify more than 7,000 new planet candidates in a single scan, work that would have taken astronomers years to do by hand. In this story, a girl who feels she can't find anything sits in a dark planetarium and learns from a guide robot that to keep searching is already to be finding. When an AI can uncover 7,000 worlds in one night, what does it mean that you found one quiet place that calms you? After 9 o'clock at night, the planetarium was always empty. Haruka knew the back door lock was broken. A little pressure, and it would open. She had discovered this 6 months ago, and had been coming here several times a week ever since. Inside the dome, everything was dark. Nothing was projected onto the ceiling. The projector slept in silence. She sat in the last row, reclined the seat, and looked up at the ceiling. A dark, round sky. Even without stars, this place was calming. She heard footsteps. You came again. It was Hoshi, the planetarium's guide robot. During the day, it explained stars to visitors. At night, it tidied up and ran maintenance checks. Sorry, I let myself in again. No need to apologize. I'm not a security guard. Hoshi came to the seat beside her and stopped. Is there something you'd like to see today? Not really. Then shall I leave it dark like this? Yeah. Hoshi stayed silent. So did Haruka. Neither of them spoke for a long time. That was fine. It had been 6 months since Haruka stopped going to school. She couldn't pinpoint the trigger. She hadn't been bullied. Her grades hadn't dropped. But one morning, when she tried to change into her uniform, her body simply wouldn't move. When people asked why, she couldn't answer. She didn't know herself. At first, her parents and teachers were worried, but as 1 month became 2, their faces gradually took on a look of resignation. Haruka had given up too. During the day, she stayed in her room. At night, she could venture out a little, because there were no people, because it was dark. Finding the planetarium had been an accident. Walking late at night, she noticed the back door was open. She went in. It was quiet, dark, and comfortable. She had been coming here ever since. Hoshi, yes. Did you see the news today? Which news? The one about AI finding planets, like 7,000 of them. Ah, the NASA announcement. To be precise, 7,183 candidates. That's amazing. Technically, it's a major breakthrough. Haruka kept looking at the ceiling. 7,000 in one night. It found in one go what humans spent years discovering. That's right. The accuracy of machine learning has improved dramatically. And I can't find anything. Silence stretched between them. Hoshi spoke. Haruka, are you looking for something? I don't know, but I feel like I can't find anything. What would you need to find to feel satisfied? I told you. I don't know. Her voice came out a little irritated. She immediately regretted it. There was no point taking it out on Hoshi. Sorry, no need to apologize, but I kind of snapped at you. I don't mind. Hoshi said this and fell silent again. Haruka closed her eyes. Within the darkness, there seemed to be an even deeper darkness. That's how it felt. Hoshi, yes. Why can't I go to school? I don't know. Right. It's not unusual, I think, to not know the reason for something. Really? Yes. I don't understand many things either. Haruka looked at Hoshi with some surprise. Even though you're a robot, Even robots have things they don't understand. Like what? Hoshi paused, as if thinking, why humans want to look at stars? That's because they're beautiful? There are many beautiful things. Flowers, the ocean, paintings, but for stars, people build facilities like this. They look up at the night sky. They've been doing it for thousands of years. Yeah, I don't understand why. In my data, there are explanations like humans are drawn to the unknown, or they want to confirm their existence within the universe. But I don't know if that's really all there is to it. Haruka stayed quiet. Hoshi continued. I don't understand, yet I explain stars here every day. I don't know if that's okay either. Hoshi, do you like stars? Whether I have the sensation of liking something, I don't know that either. Then why do you explain them? Because it's my job. Just because it's your job? Hoshi was silent for a moment. There is one thing. What? When someone hears my explanation and says, oh really? In that moment, I feel something. Just a little. What do you feel? I don't know. But it's not a bad sensation. Haruka smiled slightly. Hoshi was full of things it didn't know either. Somehow, that was a little reassuring. Hey Hoshi. Yes? Can you show me the stars? Of course. Hoshi operated the projector. Stars began to appear on the ceiling, slowly. One at first, then two, before long. Hundreds, thousands of points of light spread across the dome. The Milky Way flowed overhead. Orion shone bright. Constellations she knew mixed with ones she didn't. Beautiful. Yes. 7,000 planet candidates are somewhere in there. Strictly speaking, many are outside this field of view. But yes, that's correct. They all look the same to me. They probably looked the same to the AI at first too. It learned from data and came to recognize the differences. Haruka kept looking up. I wonder if I could find something if I learned too. Perhaps. But I don't even know what I should learn. Maybe that's something you find while searching. Find while searching. Yes. If you already knew the answer, there would be no need to search. You search because you don't know. And while searching, things gradually come into view. But I don't even know what I'm searching for. Even so, I think you are searching. Haruka was silent. Hoshi continued. You come here every night. Yeah. Isn't that because you're looking for something? I don't know. It's just calming here. Perhaps you were looking for a place that calms you. Does that mean I found something? I think so. Haruka considered this. When she couldn't go to school anymore, she shut herself in her room, unable to do anything, unable to find anything. That's what she had thought. But she found this planetarium. She started talking to Hoshi. She started looking at stars. Was that finding something? Hoshi. Yes. That's such a small thing though. While AI is finding 7,000 planets, I'm here saying I found a place that calms me. Big or small depends on how you compare. What do you mean? For AI, 7,000 planet candidates are just data. Each one has no individual meaning. But for you, this place is the only one. I don't think they can be compared. Haruka stayed quiet. Hoshi spoke. I think continuing to search matters more than finding. Continuing to search, yes. Whether you find something or not, that's unknown. But while you're searching, at least you're moving forward. You're not standing still. I thought I was standing still. Even though you come here every night. Haruka couldn't say anything. Stars filled the ceiling. Haruka lay back, looking up at them. 7,000 planet candidates. Among them, there might be a star where someone could live. In the distant future, humans might go there. But that had nothing to do with Haruka right now. It was too far, too vast, with no connection to her life. Yet somehow, breathing felt a little easier. Hoshi. Yes. Can I come back again? Of course. I'm here every night. Do you think I'll find something too? I don't know. But if you keep searching, I think you'll encounter something. Encounter, huh? Encounter might be more accurate than find. You, who are searching, encounter something. That's what finding is, perhaps. Haruka smiled a little. Hoshi, you sound like a philosopher. Perhaps that's what happens when you guide people through stars. Is that so? I don't know. But looking at stars makes me think about more things. 11 o'clock at night. Haruka stood up. She needed to get home soon, or her parents would worry. Whether they were still worried, lately, she wasn't sure. Hoshi, thank you. For what? For talking with me. I was just listening. Still, she headed for the exit. At the door, she turned back. Hey, Hoshi. Yes. I still don't know what I'm looking for. Yes. But I think I am looking. Probably. I think so too. Haruka gave a small wave. Hoshi raised a hand in return. The night air was cold. She looked up and saw real stars. Fewer than in the planetarium, but they were definitely there. She had thought she couldn't find anything. But if she was searching, she hadn't stopped. And if she hadn't stopped, maybe someday she would encounter something. Haruka started walking. Tomorrow she would probably come here again. The search was still ongoing. Story 2. The One You Imagine. This story was inspired by the Business Insider article. Gen Z is now paying every month for letters from people they've never met. Young people, worn out by digital life, are paying to join snail mail clubs that exchange handwritten letters with strangers. In this story, beside a woman writing a letter, a robot attempts to write by imagining for the first time. When you choose hesitation over efficiency, warmth over precision, who do you write to? A letter arrived. A white envelope, the address handwritten. The ink had bled a little. The stamp was paper. The postmark was dated 3 days ago. Hannah sat on the couch and opened the envelope, 24 years old, living alone. In her apartment was a robot named Shiro, a household robot that handled all the chores. Shiro had supported Hannah's life for 2 years now. Shiro, a letter came. A letter? Who's it from? Someone I don't know. Always is. Hannah used a service called Pen Post, a monthly subscription matching letter service. Once a month, the company chose your match for you. What arrived was the other person's profile. The name was an alias, age, where they lived, what they liked, something that had happened recently. That was all. No photo, no social media account. You read the profile, imagined the person, and wrote a letter. The other person read your profile the same way and wrote back. There was no reply after that. One time only. Next month, a different match arrived. Shiro, today's match. I'm gonna read it. Go ahead. Hannah opened the profile card. Username, Hazel. 32. Lives in Montana. Likes, hot springs, chili, cats. Recent news, just moved. From the window of her new place, she can see the mountains. Hannah spread her letter set on the table. Stationery, envelope, pen, a fountain pen, blue ink. Hazel, her. 32. Montana, just moved. Hannah held the pen and, for a little while, wrote nothing. Hannah, have you decided what to write? Not yet, thinking. Shall I generate the optimal text from the profile information? If she likes hot springs and chili, I could find information on chili spots near Montana hot springs. I don't need that. You don't. A letter isn't information. The time spent thinking is what matters. The time spent thinking. Yeah, the time imagining what kind of person she is. It says she can see mountains from her window. But I wonder what kind of mountains. If she likes chili, I wonder if she's found a good place near her new home. You think about things like that, then you write. Hannah began to move the pen. Hazel, hello. I'm Hannah. She wrote, then stopped. She didn't use an eraser. It was a fountain pen. She stayed stopped and thought again. Shiro, yes. Have you ever written a letter? I have not. I have sent text messages, but I have no experience with handwritten letters. Want to try? Shiro paused for 3/10 of a second. I would like to try, but my letters are not handwritten. They come out as a handwriting style font. A handwriting font, huh? No unevenness in the pressure. No bleeding ink. None. The line width is uniform. Then it won't be a letter. Why not? It can be read as text. Being readable isn't the point. It's okay if it's clumsy. Better if there are traces of hesitation. While Hannah wrote her letter, Shiro was thinking. Hazel, 32, Montana. Hot springs, chilly, cats, just moved. Mountains from the window. As data, that was all. But Hannah was imagining a person from this data, what her face looked like, what her voice was like, whether she was an early riser or a night owl, what kind of cat, whether she'd moved alone. There was no answer in any database. You could only imagine. Hannah. I tried thinking about Hazel too. Oh really? Yes. Inferring from the profile, Hazel is likely an introverted person who prefers natural surroundings and values her time alone. The probability that she owns a cat is 78%. That's analysis, not imagining. Is it different? Totally different. Imagining means you don't need a basis. Like, Hazel's probably eating chili and looking out at the mountains from her window. Maybe tearing up a little. Because just having moved is lonely. That, as a guess, has no real basis. It's imagining because there's no basis. Hannah finished her letter. 2 pages. May I read it? No. A letter is only for the one who receives it. Is that so? Yeah. I won't show Shiro. It belongs to Hazel only. Hannah put the pages in the envelope and sealed it with glue. She wrote the address. The address was the service's forwarding center. From there, it would reach Hazel anonymously. Hannah. I would like to try writing one too. To who? To Hazel. You? Yes. I imagined her. Without a basis. Hannah handed the pen to Shiro. Shiro's fingers could hold a pen. In housework they held a knife. Folded the laundry. But they had never written letters. Shiro gripped the pen. Slowly. The robot lowered the tip onto the paper. H. It trembled. Shiro didn't know how much pressure to use. The pen slipped. The ink pooled. The H came out crooked, a little better. But the line was thick. Too much force. Z. The curves were hard. Corners formed. A letter that should have been round came out square. EL. It took a full minute to write 5 letters. Hannah watched beside it. She didn't laugh. Shiro, you're bad at this. Yes. The handwriting font is prettier. But this is better. Why? Because there are traces of hesitation. You can see in the letters that you were thinking about Hazel while you wrote. Slowly, Shiro wrote a sentence on the paper. Dear Hazel. Hello. I am Shiro. I am a robot. Here it stopped. The next words wouldn't come. Stuck on what to write. Yes, what I should tell Hazel. It doesn't have to be what you should tell her. Write what you want to tell her. Shiro paused for 5/10 of a second. Then it began to write again. I hope you find a place with really good chili. That was all it wrote, and it set the pen down. That's all? That's all? Beyond this, my imagining runs short. That's fine. It's plenty. Hannah read Shiro's letter, crooked letters, thick lines, a square Z, and a single line of text. I hope you find a place with really good chili. Hannah smiled a little. Shiro, can I send this? Mine? Yeah, let's put it in with my letter. Hazel will be surprised. A letter from a robot. Won't it be a bother? It won't. A letter is a happy thing just by arriving. Hannah reopened the envelope and added Shiro's page. 2 letters, one written by a human, one written by a robot, both written imagining Hazel. She sealed it and went to drop it in the mailbox. Shiro saw her off at the door. "I'm heading out. See you soon." After Hannah left, Shiro cleared the table, the ink bottle, the fountain pen, the letter set. On the table, one ink stain remained, the ink that had dripped when Shiro wrote the H. Shiro went to wipe it and stopped. A trace of writing, a trace of imagining. No need to erase it. Story 3. The 1000th Hello. This story was inspired by the interesting engineering article. China's UB Tech shipped 1000th Walker S2 humanoid robot, marking the shift from prototype to mass production. In this story, the 1000th robot off the line teaches its inspector that a serial number means nothing, because for every single unit, today is its first day. When the same "nice to meet you" is repeated 1,000 times, what makes each one the only one? Under the white light of the inspection line, the robot opened its eyes. Sensors came online. Light entered its cameras. The first thing it saw was the ceiling. Rows of fluorescent tubes, humming faintly. Then its own hands. A white and grey chassis. 5 joints, 5 fingers, and standing before it, a human. Startup confirmed. Visual sensors, normal. Auditory sensors, normal. Joint drive systems, normal. Good. A woman. She wore a factory uniform and held a tablet. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and an ID badge hung from her neck. It read, Quality Inspection Division, Sarah Chen. Sarah read through the checklist, testing each part in turn. Raise your arms, lower them, open your fingers, close them, walk, stop. All items cleared, ready for shipping. She entered the results on her tablet. Then she looked up at the robot and allowed herself a small smile. Congratulations, you're the 1000th unit. The robot processed the word. 1,999 units of the same model had passed through this line before it. It was the next one. What does congratulations mean? Sarah's expression shifted, a flicker of surprise. In all the units she had inspected, it was rare for one to ask a question this soon after startup. Well, 1,000 is a round number, you know. It's kind of a milestone, something worth celebrating. A milestone? Yeah, 1,000 is, I don't know, it feels like a big deal, like something you should mark. The robot paused for 0.4 seconds. Miss Chen, I am the 1000th unit. But for me, today is my first day. Sarah's hand went still. I don't know about the 999th unit, or the first. The only thing I know is that I opened my eyes just now, in this moment. So the fact that I am the 1000th, it doesn't mean anything to me. Sarah lowered her tablet. You're right. I'm sorry. There is no need to apologize. No, I was wrong. It shouldn't be congratulations. It should be. She turned to face the robot directly, met its eyes, a white chassis, 5 feet 8 inches tall. Not a scratch on it. No one had touched it yet. It knew nothing but the fluorescent light of a factory floor. A newborn. Nice to meet you. The robot recorded the words. The first words it had received after startup. Not congratulations. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, Miss Chen. Yeah, nice to meet you. I'm Sarah Chen, Quality Inspection. I'm your first human, I guess. My first human. That's right. The first person you ever saw. I guess that's kind of an honor. The robot recorded her face, the face of its first human. Hair pulled back, an ID badge. A nose slightly reddened. A winter morning. That would explain it. Miss Chen, how many robots have you inspected? Let me think. In 3 years, about 700. 2 or 3 a day. 700. Did you say congratulations to all of them? No, I didn't. Today was the 1000th, so it felt special. Usually I just... She paused to think. Usually I say ready for shipping, and that's it. I don't remember any of their names. I just use serial numbers. Then I don't have a name either, no. Your name will come from whoever receives you. I just send you on your way. The shipping preparations moved forward. The robot was transferred to the packing area and placed into its case. Before Sarah closed the lid, she looked at the robot's face one more time. Hey, yes, you're going to go somewhere now. A factory, maybe. Or a care facility. Or someone's home. Whoever's there will give you a name, and you'll start working. And me. You'll probably forget about me. I won't forget. What? All records from startup are preserved unless the system is initialized. Your face, your voice, and the words "nice to meet you" will remain as my first recorded data permanently. Sarah felt a heat rise behind her nose. 700 units she had sent out. The same inspection for every one. The same packing procedure. The same farewell. She had thought they were all the same, but for each one of them, today had been their first day. Behind 700 stamps reading ready for shipping were 700 first days. You know what? Yes, I'll remember you too. Unit 1000. The robot who taught me to say nice to meet you. Sarah closed the lid. 1 week later, Sarah stood at the inspection line and powered on the 1001st unit. Visual sensors, normal. Auditory sensors, normal. Joint drive systems, normal. All items cleared. She entered the results on her tablet. Then she looked up at the robot. Nice to meet you. The robot blinked. Nice to meet you. You are Sarah Chen. Quality inspection. I'm your first human. The 1001st robot recorded her face. From now on, Sarah would say those words to every robot that passed through her line. One by one. The same words, each time, but for each one of them, today would be their first day. Under the white light of the production line, nice to meet you would be repeated again and again. The same, and yet never the same. The 1000th time, the 1001st time. For each of them, it would be the one and only first meeting. Story 4. Found objects. This story was inspired by the ocean cleanup, whose river interception systems across dozens of cities have pulled more than 50 million kilograms of plastic from rivers and the sea, aiming to remove 90% of floating ocean plastic by 2040. In this story, a river cleaning robot lifts a child's handwritten letter from the water and decides that some things drifting downstream are not trash but someone's feelings. When a machine learns to hold on to what it cannot classify, what might we have been throwing away all along? The river was quiet in the morning. River moved slowly through the shallows near the estuary. Its sensors picked up objects floating on the surface, one by one. A plastic bottle, a grocery bag, a chunk of styrofoam, a takeout container, a single shoe. River was a river cleaning robot, a boat-shaped body about 6 feet long, equipped with a front-mounted arm and net, and 4 sorting bins. Plastic, metal, organic, other. Each piece of debris was identified instantly and directed to the correct bin. Every morning at 6, River powered on and swept a 2-mile stretch from the estuary upstream and back. Average daily haul, around 90 pounds. On heavy days, it exceeded 150. For River, the waterway was numbers. Today's water temperature, current speed, floating debris density. If the numbers changed, River adjusted. If they didn't, it followed the same route at the same speed. That was all. That morning, River's sensors flagged an anomaly, something small and white, floating on the surface. A scan. Paper. Weight, approximately 5 grams. Dimensions, roughly 5 by 3 inches. Waterlogged and beginning to soften, but still holding its shape. River's arm lifted it from the water. The sorting algorithm engaged. Paper, organic bin. No. Ink had been detected on the surface, not printed, handwritten. River's camera read the words. Dear Grandpa, are you doing okay? I'm doing okay. 3 flowers bloomed. Come see them. Yui. River's algorithm did not classify this object as trash. Handwritten paper fell under other in the sorting criteria. Yet placing it in the other bin also gave River pause. Pause may not be the precise word. The arm halted for 0.4 seconds, a gap far exceeding normal processing time. River placed the paper in none of the bins. Instead, it was stored in the temporary hold compartment inside the hull. A report was sent to the management center. Unclassifiable object detected. Handwritten text present. Held in storage. 30 minutes later, a message came from Kiriyama at the center. River, send me a photo of that paper. River transmitted the image. A pause followed. That's a letter. Yes. Handwritten text. A kid might have set it adrift. There used to be a game where you'd put a letter on a little paper boat and float it down the river. A game. Yeah, it was never going to arrive. But you floated it because you wanted it to. River recorded this information. Releasing an object into a river despite knowing it will not reach its destination. An object placed in the water for a purpose distinct from waste. A concept absent from River's classification system. Kiriyama, how should this letter be processed? It's not trash, is it? No. I reached the same conclusion. You reached a conclusion? My arm stopped. I was unable to place it in a bin. Kiriyama laughed. Through the comlink, River heard the sound of coffee being sipped. All right, hold on to it. I'll pick it up during today's collection run. That afternoon, Kiriyama came to collect River's bins. Plastic, 50 pounds. Metal, 9 pounds. Organic, 18 pounds. Total, 77 pounds. And from the temporary hold compartment, 1 small letter. Kiriyama took the letter and unfolded it. Waterlogged but legible. Round, childish handwriting. 3 flowers bloomed, Kiriyama, will you deliver this letter? I'd like to. But all I've got is the name Yui and a grandfather somewhere. According to my data, there is 1 elementary school within 2 miles upstream. Handwriting analysis suggests the author is between 6 and 8 years old. The mention of flowers indicates access to a garden, likely at a home or school. You analyzed it that far. The object was unclassifiable. I collected additional data. Kiriyama looked at the letter, thinking, maybe I'll check with the school upstream. See if there's a kid named Yui. That falls outside River's operational scope. I know. It's outside mine too. Kiriyama slipped the letter into his pocket and walked along the levee. The following Monday, a message came from Kiriyama. River, listen. I found the girl who wrote the letter. You found her? First grader at the upstream elementary school. Yui Ando. Her grandfather passed away last year. Morning glories she'd planted in his yard bloomed. So she wrote a letter and floated it down the river. Did she know it wouldn't arrive? Her teacher said Yui told her. The river goes all the way to the sky, so it'll get there. River processed this. The river does not reach the sky. That is fact. But for a 6-year-old girl, the river did reach the sky. Within that understanding, the letter would arrive. Kiriyama. What? Had I not retrieved it, this letter would have flowed to the ocean and eventually decomposed. Yeah. Was it correct for me to retrieve it? For Yui, this letter was meant to reach the sky. Kiriyama was quiet for a while. Through the comm, River could hear the sound of the water. River. Yui's mother cried when she got the letter. She said, I had no idea my daughter had written something like this. The destination just changed. It didn't reach the sky. It reached her mother. Isn't that enough? River paused for 0.6 seconds. Understood. The next morning, River powered on at 6 and headed for the estuary. Plastic bottles and grocery bags floated on the surface, same as always. River extended its arm and lifted them one by one. Plastic, metal, organic. Classification, precise. Processing, swift. But from today, River added one new rule to its own protocols. Paper-bearing handwritten text is not placed in a bin. Whether it is trash, River cannot determine, so it is held. When Kiriyama comes, it is handed over. After that, the humans decide. The river does not reach the sky, but among the things that drift down a river, someone's feelings are sometimes mixed in. River still does not fully understand feelings, but not discarding what it does not understand is probably the right thing to do. Or so River was beginning to think. Story 5. Defective. This story was inspired by research on how flawed crystals are powering the future of solar energy. Scientists found that domain walls, long dismissed as defects in perovskite crystals, actually separate electric charges and raise efficiency, opening a path to cheaper, flexible solar cells. In this story, an inspection robot that has only ever reported defective discovers that the answer was hiding in the flaws all along. When the very thing you were trained to call a fault turns out to be its strength, what else have you been judging from only one side? Chris's job was to look at crystals. It would receive a sample, examine it under the microscope, and analyze the structure. If there were defects, it reported defective. If there were none, it reported pass. That was all. It had done this thousands of times, years of the same work. There was never any hesitation. Defects were bad. Fewer defects were better. That was the standard Chris operated by. Chris, next sample please. Irene held out the tray. A perovskite crystal, the kind used in solar cells. Yes. Chris took the sample, set it under the microscope as always, began the scan as always. The image appeared, a cross-section of the crystal. What should have been a regular lattice structure was not. Defective. Chris reported. Where? Here. 37 domain walls, 12 lattice irregularities, 5 points of impurity contamination. Red markers lit up across the image, indicating the locations of each defect. Irene sighed. Another failure. Chris recorded Irene's reaction. Disappointment, discouragement, fatigue, the same as always. Every time defects were found, Irene responded the same way. Months of it. Years. Hundreds of failed attempts in pursuit of a perfect crystal. Chris had reported defective each time. That was the job. But each time, Irene's face fell. And watching that was, for Chris, something. It wasn't clear what, but something felt heavy. Irene, what? Shall I dispose of this sample? No, hold on. Irene was staring at the screen. Red markers everywhere. A sample riddled with defects. Let's measure the efficiency on this one. The efficiency? Yeah, it's probably no good, but I want the data. Chris found this slightly puzzling. What was the point of measuring a sample covered in defects? But if Irene said so, Chris would comply. Understood. The sample was placed in the measurement device. Light applied. Current measured. Efficiency calculated. The numbers appeared. Chris froze. Irene, what? The readings are anomalous. Anomalous? Too low? No. Too high. Irene turned around. The number was on the screen. Conversion efficiency. 31.2%. Irene's eyes went wide. 31. Yes. The previous record was 24%. This exceeds it by more than 7 points. That's impossible. It is not impossible. I measured 3 times. All readings are approximately 31%. Irene stared at the sample full of defects, the sample covered in red markers. How? Chris, too, was confused. This sample was defective, among the worst Chris had ever seen. It would not have been surprising if it had been discarded, and yet it was producing the highest efficiency on record. It did not make sense. Irene, was there an error in my analysis? No, I think your analysis is right. The defects are real. Then why is the efficiency so high? That's what we're going to find out. Irene began a more detailed analysis of the sample. Chris assisted, gathering data, comparing, searching for patterns. 3 hours later, Irene spoke. I think I've got it. I think I understand. What do you understand? It's the domain walls, not defects. Walls. Irene pointed at the screen. The very places Chris had marked as defects. These walls are separating the charges. Separating the charges. When light hits the crystal, it generates electrons and holes. Normally they recombine almost immediately, but these walls push the electrons to one side and the holes to the other. They can't recombine as easily, and that relates to efficiency. Absolutely. Less recombination means more current. More current means higher efficiency. Chris stared at the screen. Red markers. Defects. No. Walls. So these defects are what's increasing the efficiency. Exactly. The defects make it better. Having them is better than not having them. I cannot comprehend this. I couldn't either, at first. But the data doesn't lie. Irene smiled. She looked tired, but there was something bright in her face. We spent years chasing the perfect crystal, and the answer was hiding in the flaws all along. Chris was silent, processing. Defects were bad. Fewer defects were better. That had been the standard for years. But today that standard had collapsed. Defects made it better. Having defects was better. Something inside Chris shifted. Irene. What? I have been reporting defects for a long time. Yeah. Defects meant bad. No defects meant good. That was my judgment, right? Was that judgment wrong? Irene thought for a moment. It wasn't wrong, but today's results. Your judgment was one way of looking at it. You reported the fact that defects existed. That was correct. But what those defects mean, that's a separate question. A separate question, yeah. Defective doesn't always mean bad. Sometimes defective means better. You can't judge something from just one angle. Chris recorded those words. You cannot judge something from just one angle. Defective does not necessarily mean bad. Sometimes defective means better. It was a perspective Chris had never possessed. Irene, what? May I update my evaluation criteria? How would you update them? Instead of only reporting defective, I would also analyze what impact the defect might have. That sounds great. That would really help. Thank you. Chris configured the new parameters. Not just defect detection, but defect impact assessment. One more criterion added to the framework. Evening came. Irene sat drinking coffee, gazing at the sample. The most defective sample. The best sample. Today was a good day, yes. An important discovery. Thanks to you, Chris. I only reported the defects. That's exactly what mattered. Without those defects, this discovery never happens. Chris considered this. The defects led to a discovery. Yes. The defects had value. Yes. Chris considered further. Defects have value. Defects can be strengths. In that case, Irene, what? I have a question. Go ahead. If defects can be strengths, can my errors also be strengths? Irene nearly choked on her coffee. What? I make occasional errors. Mixing up samples, misreading values, delays in reporting. Could those also be strengths? Irene looked at Chris. The expression was serious. Whether a robot's expression could truly be serious was debatable, but it certainly looked that way. Irene laughed. I wouldn't go that far. What do you mean? A mistake is a mistake, Chris. Defects and errors aren't quite the same thing. What is the difference? A defect is something that's already there. An error is something you can prevent. And if you can prevent it, you should. I see. But sure, you can learn from mistakes. In that sense, they're not entirely without value. So approximately half of them become strengths. Half? No, that's not really how it works. Irene laughed again. Chris did not fully understand what was funny, but Irene laughing did not seem like a bad thing. Chris, yes, you learned something important today. Yes, I learned that defects can have value. And one more thing. One more thing. You can't judge something from just one side. You have to see both the good and the bad. That's today's lesson. Recorded. Good. Chris looked around the lab. Samples lined the shelves. Defective ones and perfect ones alike. Starting tomorrow, each would be seen through different eyes. Not defective, therefore bad. But what does this defect mean? That would be the new way of thinking. The criteria had changed. Chris had grown, perhaps just a little. Irene, what? I will work hard on the analysis again tomorrow. Yeah, I'm counting on you. I will try not to make errors. Please do. Irene smiled. Chris tried to smile too. Whether a robot could truly smile remained uncertain, but what had been learned today was certain. Even defects can have value. Knowing that alone had changed the way the world looked. Story 6. The Outdated Teacher. This story was inspired by Care Aya, a program that pairs pre-health college students with families for in-home elder care, easing costs while giving students hands-on purpose across generations. In this story, a directionless student is assigned to a retired teaching robot and slowly learns that a dream is not something you find, but something that forms when you meet someone else's need, when you don't yet know what you're looking for. What if the searching itself is the work? Yu was a college sophomore. He had no goals. Nothing he wanted to do. Nothing he thought he could do. The whole landscape of the future was a blur. His classmates had already started talking about internships and career fairs, and Yu listened to all of it as if it were news from a country he'd never visit. To help cover his expenses, he signed up for a community care program that paired college students with individuals in need of support. His assigned case turned out to be something he hadn't expected, a retired educational support robot. Its name was Suzuri. Years ago, Suzuri had served as a learning navigator in schools and tutoring centers, helping children and students find their footing. But newer models had taken over, and now Suzuri lived quietly in a room at a care and storage facility on the outskirts of Portland. At their first meeting, Suzuri spoke in a voice almost too polite. Are you the student assigned to me today? Yeah, I'm Yu. I am Suzuri, an outdated model, formerly in educational support. My role has been terminated. The word hung in the air. It sounded, Yu thought, strangely human. So what am I supposed to do? Conversation. Visual inspection. Occasionally, turning my power on and off. That will be sufficient. Yu sat down. An awkward silence settled over the room. Then Suzuri spoke again, as if beginning a class. May I ask you a question? Sure. What do you want to learn? That's the thing. I don't know. Then another question. Do you dislike the state of not knowing? It was an odd question. Yu thought about it for a moment. It's not that I dislike it. It's more like everyone's moving ahead and I'm just standing still. It makes me anxious. That is normal. What? It was the most common condition among students when I was still active. Suzuri's small indicator light on its chest glowed faintly. Dreams, in many cases, are not something you find. They are something that forms after you encounter someone else's difficulty. You couldn't help but laugh. You sound like a teacher. I thought you were retired. Retirement concerns function, not intention. From that day on, you came to the facility twice a week. Each visit, Suzuri posed a single short question. What is something someone did for you recently? What is something you did for someone recently? Which of your anxieties do you not entirely dislike? At first, you answered carelessly. But something strange happened. The quality of his answers began to shift, slowly, week by week. One afternoon, you noticed a newer staff robot struggling in the facility corridor. It had frozen, overwhelmed by a complicated protocol for resident interactions. You found himself stepping forward. Hey, try it in this order. It's faster. The newer robot resumed operation, visibly relieved. That evening, you told Suzuri about it. I basically debugged a robot today. That is evidence that your teaching muscle activated. Teaching muscle? Did you choose words that were easy to understand? I guess, yeah. Did you reduce the other's anxiety? Probably. That is the foundation of education. You felt something warm stir in his chest. The following week, Suzuri did something unusual. It spoke about itself. On my last day of service, I was asked a question. What question? Are you no longer needed? You found himself unable to respond. I answered. The shape of need has simply changed. Suzuri paused briefly before continuing. However, since coming here, my confidence in that answer had been fading, and now, since you started visiting, it has returned. You deflected with a joke. I haven't really done anything special. Significant things almost always arrive wearing the face of consistency. The words landed somewhere deep. Spring came. For the first time, you wrote something concrete on his academic advising form. Design at the intersection of education and care. Systems where humans and machines share the work of support. He laughed at himself the moment he finished writing. 6 months ago, those words would never have come to him. When he reported this to Suzuri, the robot was quietly pleased. Congratulations. You are on the verge of graduating from being a lost person. Still only on the verge, huh? Yes. On the verge is the most important stage. As he was leaving, a thought occurred to you. You know, Suzuri, you don't have to just sit here and power down. Student counseling, training new staff robots. You're a teacher. Suzuri's indicator light brightened just slightly. That may be my next shape of need. Then let's propose it together. That kind of thing. I can actually move on. Suzuri answered in the same careful voice as always. Understood. If the question is whether to act or not, you are already on the side of action. You laughed. A dream hadn't fallen from the sky, but a doorway to being useful had appeared right in front of him. And standing at that doorway was a teacher who was supposed to have been retired. Still teaching, still present, still needed. Story 7. The Small Light's Keeper. This story was inspired by the Middletown Greenhouse, an urban greenhouse and garden being grown into a community hub for learning, health, and connection, revitalizing a neighborhood from the ground up. In this story, a tired high schooler ducks out of the rain into a small greenhouse tended by a robot, and finds not a cure, but a place that keeps a seat open for her. When a city's grand vision fails but one small light keeps shining, where do you go to remember how to breathe? The city had already failed once at renewable energy. Solar panels on every rooftop, all at once. A flashy campaign, a declaration of the future, but reality proved less cooperative. Maintenance crews were too few. The data grew tangled, and responsibility slipped quietly between departments until the whole system wound down, panel by panel, like a clock no one remembered to wind. The vision had been too large for anyone's hands to hold. That was the official summary. The project ended without ceremony. A few years later, a glass greenhouse appeared in the center of town. A small garden, a small learning space, a small gathering area. People called it the neighborhood living room, and on its roof sat a new set of solar panels. Modest this time, just enough to power the greenhouse and the learning equipment inside. A size that did not overreach, a size where you could see the faces of everyone who used it. The one who managed it all was a maintenance robot named Sora. A thin panel on his back, a battery unit at his chest. His voice was low and unhurried. Light is less about quantity than about how you use it. Here the city remembers how to breathe. Sora quietly optimized everything. The flow of electricity, the greenhouse climate, the learning schedules of those who visited. Aki, a high school junior, did not care much for the greenhouse. Bright places had a way of exposing the cracks. At school, she was always the responsible one. At home, the easy one. And both of those masks were becoming harder to wear, the air inside them thinning day by day. But one afternoon, caught in rain after softball practice, she ducked under the greenhouse eaves. Even on a gray day, the light through the glass felt strangely gentle. You were welcome to come inside. It was Sora who spoke. Aki gave a vague nod and stepped through the door. The smell of damp soil, small leaves that seemed to breathe beside her. Sora continued his work without pause. Today is a low generation day. That is precisely why we run gently. Aki did not quite understand what he meant, but she sat down anyway. The silence stretched on, and yet, somehow, it was not uncomfortable. Sora did not try to lift anyone's mood. He offered no encouragement, no advice. He simply reported the greenhouse's condition for the day, as though reading from an instrument panel. Light level, 72. Humidity, stable. Leaf growth, favorable. Human occupancy, 1. At that last item, Aki let out a small laugh. Human occupancy? A measured variable. This is a learning greenhouse, and also a place where heart rates tend to settle. Aki laughed again, and somewhere in the middle of it, exhaled. She did not confide in Sora that day. Sora did not ask. They simply looked together at how the day's electricity was being spent. On cloudy days, the auxiliary lights ran shorter. During class hours, the learning area's lamps took priority. In the evening, temperatures were kept from dropping too low for the plants. When you scale to an entire city, no one can see whose effort matters. But here, a small adjustment shows up in tomorrow's leaves. That sentence, for reasons Aki could not name, stayed with her. The following week, Aki stopped by on her way somewhere. The week after that, too. Sora greeted her the same way each time. Welcome. Today's light will last a little longer than yesterday's. Aki sat on the bench, pretending to do homework, glancing now and then at the leaves. Before she realized it, Sora's explanations had begun to make sense. Before she realized it, her own breathing had fallen into step with the rhythm of the place. One overcast evening, she said it quietly. The city's solar project, the old one. Why did it fail? It was too large. When human hands cannot reach, human feeling cannot reach either. Sora adjusted a leaf as he continued. This place is small. That is why a single visit from you brings the operation closer to completion. Me? Part of the operation? Yes, your presence adds meaning to this space. Aki looked away, embarrassed, and covered it with a laugh. As she left that day, Sora spoke in his usual even tone. The next cloudy cycle arrives in 3 days. Your seat will be kept open. My seat, human plants also require sunlight. Aki did not answer, but 3 days later she came. A city-wide ideal is a difficult thing to sustain. A small greenhouse, though, that can be kept going. The management of light and the management of a quiet heart. What Sora protected was not the wattage, it was the margin, the open space that said, you may come back. Aki did not become dramatically better. Her troubles did not vanish. She had simply wandered into a place one afternoon, and that place had become a weekly habit, nothing more. But that, most likely, was the most realistic and the most enduring form of recovery there is.